Hello, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be doing a thrift flip of this velvet 90s dress into a 1930s dress. I found this dress at the thrift store yesterday, and it's basically just a sheath dress, but the fabric is what got me. It's such beautiful velvet. So in some different lighting, it looks kind of like plummy, pinkish, purpley, and then sometimes it just looks like blue velvet. I found out that historically this is, I believe, referred to as shot velvet, and it's actually not really a new invention. This is basically blue velvet that's been woven onto a different colored base. So at some angles you can see through the piles of the velvet to the other color. It just has such a magical effect. I'm obsessed with it. However, like I said, this is like a sheath dress. This is the top. It has no shape to it at all. I will try it on for you. It is extremely unflattering from all angles. So we are going to turn it into a beautiful 1930s dress. I'm going to be using only hand sewing for this project, so no sewing machine needed. And without further ado, let me put this on to show you what we're working with. Here is what we have. In my humble opinion, it's just not doing anything for me. Like, from no angles is this actually flattering. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that a pretty straight up and down or very simple dress can't be a look, but it needs to be a look, you know what I'm saying? And this is not, it's not giving me a look right now. This is supposed to be a size small, by the way, but like, it needs to either just be like a little tighter up here, even just that. If you wanted to stick with the 90s vibes, would make it much better. And then from the side, like, it's just gotta have like a little bit. It can still be pretty straight up and down. However, we are not going to be keeping with the 90s. We are going to be totally transforming this. This does have not one, but two slits, so I will be closing those. I did consider, if I just hike up these two slits, this could kind of become a 20s dress that would be kind of snazzy. I'd have to figure out how to make the silhouette like 20s-ish from the side, but I mean, like, this is kind of cool. However, what I want her to have a waist, okay? I want her to have a real waist. And I want it to be like good and scrunched so we get a little bit of that like rouging effect, you know? And when it's pulled tight, I actually do quite like this straight across neckline. It can work for the 30s, I'm down with it. And then I am gonna want a very low back situation because, oh my gosh, those 30s dresses with basically no back, they're just something else. This fabric has so much potential, but I just feel like they just wasted it on this dress. Personally, if you like this dress, that's all cool. But like, I feel like I'm just wearing a bag with straps. This is not giving me fashion. It's not giving me glamour. So let's throw this on the mannequin and see what we can do. So this is Nancy. Many of you know her well by now. She is my lovely mannequin friend. Looking like a sack. So first things first, this dress has those annoying hangy thingies on it in the armpits, and I'm cutting those off because nobody uses those, please. Okay, next thing is we're gonna flip her around to the back. The back is where most of the magic is going to happen for this dress. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab one of the dress's sort of armpit areas and just pull it really tight to the back. And I'm gonna pin it right there. And then I'm gonna do the same on the other side. So this is already a little bit better in the front because we got a little bit more fit going on, but now we have a bunch of fabric just hanging out in the back. So next I'm just going to cut these straps off and I'm going to pin them right in this sort of like shoulder blade spot that I just pinned. So far, a couple very easy steps, and you can already see we have a bit of a thing happening. I'm going to pull this loose bit tight and just sort of pin it out of the way. I mean, honestly, sewing it like that wouldn't be that bad. That would be an option. Now I'm going to cut a line downward from just inside this little like strappy spot that we have pinned. I'm just going to cut a line straight down, and I'm going to stop at the waist. And I'm not cutting right at the strap, I'm cutting a little bit inside that so I have a bit of seam allowance to work with. Now I'm going to do the same on the other side as well, and I'm not doing this super symmetrically. It doesn't have to be perfect, so just approximate is good for now. And now is where I'm going to unpin this bunch of excess at the back. Are you beginning to see the vision? And now I'm going to do my best to just cut this sort of flap off in a straight line. Now is the point where I'm just going to grab each side of the waist and pull it really tight so you sort of get the cinched waist and it'll start to kind of get scrunchy in the front. And I'm just going to pin it right where I grabbed it. Okay, we got some of that scrunchy action happening in the front. I can see here that when I sort of pull this over, there's still a little bit of excess, so I'm going to try and cut a straight line from this pin to this pin. And I'm going to try and match it on the other side. And now I actually am going to try and be a little bit more precise about this, but this is why we didn't really have to be as specific before, because I knew we'd kind of have to recut this line anyhow. I'm going to just trim this a little bit too, because it's also now a little bit uneven. There we go. And now to keep this part from kind of sagging, I'm going to want to pick it up a bit. So I'm going to take these pins out. I'm just going to lift this up and pin it again. And then I'll match it on the other side. And then all of this excess, you're not going to cut off because it's going to be sort of gathered into that one point on the waist. Now I'm just going to check that the straps are pretty equal, that they're like an even tightness. And I'm just checking that it looks symmetrical, and then I'm going to cut off with a little bit of extra for seam allowance the excess strap. To make this dress a little easier to get in and out of, I'm going to grab all of this excess bit in the back and fold it over to one side, and then not right in the middle, but maybe an inch or an inch and a half to the right of that so that I have a little bit of extra. I'm going to cut a slit straight down, just a few inches down. So I've stopped this slit just kind of around hip level-ish, and what I'm going to do when I take this off of the mannequin is I'm going to sew like a double folded over hem right here, straight down, stopping at the waist. And then on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing, but instead of stopping at the waist, I'm going to keep going, curving to the right a little bit where we have this bit of extra, and then curve down again and go straight to the bottom of this slit. So all of this will be hemmed, and then this will be hemmed from here to the waist. So I'm going to take this off the mannequin and sew it using a whip stitch so that I can maintain the stretchiness of this fabric, and then I'll show you what we're going to do next. Here she is back on the mannequin. I've sewn the straps now, and this is what the back is approximately going to look like. Right now I have some pins in there holding in the excess fabric. Now we've got this bit that comes into the middle here, and then the other side is gonna meet it over there. And all of this needs to be gathered. So I'm going to put a running stitch in this to cinch it tight into a nice tight gather, and then I'll create a little interfaced edge so that it's clean instead of these raw edges. And then this is going to have a snap on it so that it can snap on to that. Actually, I might do a hook and eye. That would probably be more secure since this is pulled kind of tight. The snap might come undone. So I'm going to gather this and then I'll give it a clean edge, but that's easier to explain by actually just showing you. So I'll show you when I'm doing it.
Call me dear, it used to be your delight to cuddle up and turn down the light. It's different now, since we took that vow. You never cared to spoon with me, so hear these last few words from me. Oh, my beautiful doll, goodbye.
again, lovely people, and it is time to add some gores to this dress. And yes, I did cut my hair. So currently on the sides of this dress we have two slits, one on this side, one on that side. I do not want there to be two slits, so how are we going to fix that? I could just sew them together, except I think that would make the skirt a little bit too narrow and closed off, and I'd like it to have a little bit more flare. So we're going to add a gore, and you might be wondering what a gore is. The dress I'm wearing currently, you see these darker tealish areas? Those are gores. So I had these panels of the skirt which are more or less straight, and then a gore is like a triangular shape of fabric that you put into one of those seams that makes the skirt flare out more instead of just going straight down. So I need to cut out some triangular shapes to go into these slits to make the skirt flare just a little bit. Unfortunately, I of course don't have this exact fabric, which is unfortunate because it would look really nice if I did, but we're gonna have to do a little bit of an accented gore, kind of like this dress. So I have these two fabrics to make gores out of. I have this tulle, which I'd like to overlay on top of this sort of purpley color. So basically what I'm gonna do is figure out how long the slit is on the dress. And quite frankly, I'm not even gonna use measuring tape, I'm just gonna use my hands and my eyeballs. So I'm gonna place one end of the fabric at the top of the slit with a little bit of seam allowance and bring it down to the bottom, also with a little bit of seam allowance. And now I'm just going to cut the fabric to that length. So now I have kind of this rectangle-y section of this fabric. I haven't cut it all the way off yet, but it's the right length for the slit. And I want the hem of the gore, the triangle piece, to be about this wide. So I'm just going to take that length and fold it in half. And now I'm going to cut a straight line from this folded corner here down to the unfolded corner on the bottom. And don't forget to give it a little bit of seam allowance as well. Okay, I have a very long triangle. I made it a pretty flared shape actually, so it's skinnier at the top and more flared on the bottom. And now I'm just going to lay this back out onto the fabric to cut out a piece that's just the same for the other side. Now I'm thinking on top of these, I want to layer a piece of this tulle, but I'm not going to cut it out in exactly the same shape as these gores. I want the blue to have like a little bit more kind of gathering in it, so I'm going to cut out a much wider triangle out of this. So same length of triangle as these, but I'm just going to make the bottom wider. Hopefully this will make more sense later. Now I'm going to show you how I'm going to be installing these two layers of gores into one of these slits. So this sheer blue piece is a lot wider than this light purple piece, but I'm going to line up one of their long edges, and they're not going to match up perfectly. The blue piece is going to have a little bit left hanging over on the hem, but that's totally fine. But along this edge, I'm just going to treat this like it's one layer of fabric, and I'm going to pin it beneath the fabric of the slit. And we're going to pin it in this way because of the fact that the slit is already a finished edge and not a raw edge. If it was a raw edge, I'd sew them together differently. So I'm just going to continue down the edge of this slit, lining up the blue layer with the purple layer, and then putting the slit edge right on top of it and pinning it down. And as I go, I need to take a few pins higher up out again and repin them just to make sure everything's laying nice and flat. Though these fabrics are a lot lighter than the primary fabric of the dress, I do really like how layered they kind of are, reminiscent of the duochrome effect, if that makes sense. Now I've gone all the way down this one side of the slit. Now we're going to do the same on the other edge.
Fools there were, fools there are, and fools there'll always be. But the greatest fool of all you see.
Now that I have this all pinned, I'm just going to hand sew a straight line right along this whole section that I've pinned. There is a bunch of extra hanging on the bottom, that's totally fine, we can trim it after. But now I'm hoping you can see why I made the blue layer of the gore wider than the layer underneath, because it sort of makes it lay with a little bit more almost gathering in it, and it just gives it a little bit more movement. And from the side, this sort of like sheer bit sticks out a little bit, and I just think that's kind of whimsical. So I'm going to sew on this side, and then we're going to repeat everything on the other side for the other gore.
He captures his pay, and he loves it, I vow. how. He makes it, that ends it. She takes it and spends it. Oh boy, and how. Buys herself the most expensive clothes. Has to have the latest Paris clothes. Takes another fellow to a dance. Leaves him home with patches in his pants. Oh, folks, you've never heard her. She gets...
I've just finished sewing both of the gores into the skirt, and now I'm going to trim the bottom. I will still be leaving a little bit of seam allowance so that I can hem the purple layer, but I'm not going to have to do that for the tulle since it doesn't fray. So I'm just going to trim both of the gores and hem them, and then the dress will be done.
He's the perfect fool there was. He stands for everything she does. She makes an apple pie that would kill any guy, and he loves it, I vow. She takes it and cooks it, he eats it and looks it. Oh boy, and how. Often cooks herself a fricassee. Says, my dear, there's just enough for me.
The dress is finally done. Now let's take a look at the before and after.
After dinner, he eats all the scraps.
But there's nothing that swells my head. That's why I've always said I don't let no one man worry me. No time, 'cause I always will keep me 2 or 3 on my mind. If number 1 should start to balk, I'll pack up all of my studs and walk. If I have trouble with a number 2, right then I'll say that
That is the finished result of this thrift flip from a 90s dress to a formal 1930s dress, and I am extremely happy with the results. I knew this dress was worth saving just for the material. Not only do I think it's beautiful, but the stretchiness made a really beautiful sort of like ruching situation around the waist. I absolutely love it. I'm also obsessed with the low back. I've been wanting a dress for a while where I can do this like backwards necklace thing. I'm wearing this long necklace, but just backwards, and I think it's so beautiful. I also just generally kind of have an obsession with velvet, so I'm very satisfied. I hope that this can inspire you to try some sort of thrift flip of your own. There's a lot of easier things that you can do, or you can make it more complicated if you want to. There are a lot of garments out there that have a really beautiful material and just need a little bit of help to be turned into something gorgeous. I'm so excited to take pictures in this dress, and if you want to see those pictures or any of my other photography, I would love it if you would take a look at my Instagram. Link is in the description. And that would be it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment, rate, subscribe, and all that jazz, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Wait a second, is that how I want to do it? Is that how? Is that the way? This is definitely my most flattering angle. It's so hot in the summer, I don't like it. Nah, why can't I talk? I actually can't.